Hello and welcome to this week's second episode of the UConn Daily Podcast. This is Aman Kidwai, joined by John Silver. Excited to be chatting after UConn's 66-59 win over Villanova. No sweat, right, John? It was a 7-point win. We were cruising at the end. No big deal. Of course, that was not the case. As has been the tradition with this year's UConn Huskies, it was a roller coaster ride. The Huskies were down 14, which has happened to them before, and they've won a bunch of those games. This was another one of those games, but I'd say what was different was this 14-point deficit was late in the second half, and a little bit of similarities in the guys who got them out of it with Liam McNeely and Terrace Reed Jr. John, your thoughts after the win over Villanova? Big performance for the Huskies, something that they desperately needed.
Yeah, no sweat. I was never worried at all, at all. I mean, is Dan Hurley said something hilarious. I'm paraphrasing after the game. He's like, I couldn't imagine what our fans are going through, and that is so true. Because if you look at Twitter, which is I like to think of Twitter as the first, not even the rough draft of history. It's actually real time thoughts that we've never had before. I mean, we went from the team sucks, and I even said the defense sucks, to if you go to everywhere else that Dan Hurley has lost his fastball. He doesn't know how to play without great players. To suddenly, in a span of 10 minutes, to this team is toughness. They have what they have that alpha march. They're and it's that roller coaster ride that this team has. The highs are so high. The highs are Final Four capable. The lows are NIT, and there has to be somewhere in the middle. You can't beat Olay on defense for 25 minutes and then look like the 2004 Detroit Pistons for 10 minutes. I mean, I don't understand. Missed shots happen. Alex Carabin needs to sacrifice some Kentucky Fried Chicken like they did in Major League on somewhere on the foul line, right? I don't know what's going on with his shot. It makes no sense. I'm done trying to analyze it. I mean, it's nonsense. Like he's missing open shots that he always makes. I have no idea. Look, you know, why can't their defense play like that? Why can't there, I was getting in arguments with people, my friends who were texting, we do the old Twitter thing. You're on X, you're texting the college friends who are all melting down, you know. And I don't, how do you just turn it on like that defensively? Like, what are you waiting for? Like, how many times have they had a poor first half and a great second half this year? Now, obviously, this was, poor 30 minutes shut down defense the last 10. They're college kids. Come on. That's my only explanation is these are not professionals. They're just paid amateurs. I mean, and they're kind of paid. I don't know how much they're making. I'm sure Liam McNeely and Carabin are getting, but I mean, I'm really getting. So it's like, you know what? I think this is just what you do when you have sophomores playing their first year of basketball. McNeely's a freshman. Ball's a sophomore, didn't play last year. Jalen Stewart, who looks like an NBA wing one day, and the next it looks like he can't play Division two. It's just Samson Johnson. You don't reach on 3-point shooting. Like it's just little things like that, and it goes down to these guys are young. They still are young. Ball, McNeely, Stewart did not play major roles on the team last year. They have Carabin who struggles shooting. Hassan's on one leg. I absolutely love him as a warrior. They need better point guard play though. So, you know, they won the game. They're 18-8. They could be 25-2 if they they're really not that far away from like, a one loss, two loss team, but they're also not that far away from the bubble. So, they're probably where they are. I think they're if I had to look at it honestly, what would a shade a pro UConn shade? Honestly, I think they're a little better than probably what their seed is right now, but not much better. You don't know what you're going to get. You can't put them as a top four seed. With that, they could crash out.
Yeah.
They don't deserve
Yep.
it.
Consistency is a big
Mm,
challenge right now. It's something that
yeah.
almost across the board is an issue. And yeah, they're lacking in ball handling. They're lacking in um, consistent low post presence, and I think that's that's hurting them. We've talked about
Hmm.
how Mahaney's behind and not
Yeah.
contributing at the level that they
Can't play.
want or need. The
Mhm.
difference between a pro team and a college team, even though everyone's mad about NIL and stuff right now, is you rock with your team through the season. There's no mid-season free agency, right? You can't cut a guy mid-season. So you're hoping he finds a way to get back up, be productive for like 5-10 minutes a game, build that up somewhere, somehow, some way going forward. Mahaney's a 2-year player for UConn. They brought him in after his sophomore year at St. Mary's. So part of his value was that he had 2 years of remaining eligibility and was a quality player. Maybe there's this theory that he can be a better player next year. I mean, it's a different situation altogether, but Tristan Newton took a lot of heat his first year at UConn for not being a fully complete, type of player that UConn wanted. He was in the building last night, along with Cam Spencer, for the game, which I'm sure gave the Huskies an extra boost. Hurley actually did say it gave him a boost, and Klingon was around as well. NBA All Star Weekend, so the fellas had a break, but um, look, Tristan Newton, you're missing a lot, right? You're reminded of how much you're missing when you saw him and Cam Spencer there. Um, but Mahaney, it's you can't do anything about him right now. You have to hope to make him into something useful going forward. With Caravan, with his shot not falling, I have to say good game, right? Like he was 2 for 6. He didn't take too many shots. He was 0 for 3 from three. He took one kind of, quick trigger three, but his other ones were open attempts. They're just not going in. They're like rimming out. He's always had a little bit of a weird English on the ball, a little bit of an
Yeah.
off form. Again, like we said, we're not the shot doctor here. But I think again, in the context of his shot not falling, he did a good job of not taking too many shots, 2 for 6 overall, still contributing a lot, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Uh,
Mhm.
he didn't sit until the second half. So, that second half stretch where he's sitting and UConn does make a run to come back. Um, I would not look too much more into that beyond they started pressing, and Caravan needed the rest. He's still a crucially important player for the team. Uh, I think, they still really believe and depend on him a lot. And Terrace Reed Jr., he's proven to make a difference in a handful of games, just not enough. And
Mhm.
that's what needs to change down the road. Hurley talks about him needing that desperation. And that's really kind of the challenge with the team. Hassan Diarra, God bless him. He's playing through an injury. He should be probably resting completely, like he
Yeah.
should, but they just don't have anyone right now in that position, and um, he's really gutting it out there. So um, there's still so many concerns. They're largely the same concerns that have existed all season. So I think that's the part where like this is not so surprising. The loss on Saturday to Seton Hall was really surprising. Like that was the thing that shouldn't have happened. Almost everything else that has happened, I mean, you can quibble about losing at Villanova, right? That was a situation where you could have won. Other than that, you lose to Creighton, you lose at Xavier, you lost to St. John's. Those aren't those are excusable league losses. So again, plenty to play for. They are a better team than their record. Again, they have actually a pretty concrete argument with the
Mhm.
McNeely out, McNeely in kind of splits that they can show for their defense. Their defense is analytically much better with him in there, and McNeely's a
Really
quite
is.
a solid rebounder as well. So they've just got to really hold strong the rest of this season. And that was true after Saturday too. Hey, this loss was really bad. You can still hold strong. The thing that was looking bad was they were doing 30 minutes of gibberish at home when they needed to respond against Villanova, who's not great, right? Villanova's not a defensive juggernaut. They're not really an offensive juggernaut. They're they're
You're
they're,
okay.
they're good. They're not bad. Yeah, yeah. They're
Yeah.
22nd offensively in Kentucky. They're not bad, but they're no juggernaut anywhere, and they're not the best coach team either.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you didn't want to get kind of like processed by Villanova, which was what it looked like was about to happen. Just like a slow rolling double digit loss is what it looked like was about to happen. They pulled that one out from the grave. Again, they've done it many times. How many more times can they do it? Who knows? These really are the cardiac kids. There was cardiac Kemba, but
No,
um,
this is cardiac
at
kids.
any rate, really important how they close out this season. The challenges, the concerns remain, and I think that's the part that um, you don't take too much confidence going forward, unfortunately.
Yeah, when we look at it, and I was talking to people, you can make a case that that they were sliding towards the bubble. They beat Seton Hall. If say they beat Seton Hall, say they hit the free throw at Villanova to win it. They win last night. They had that 14-point lead at St. John's. They held on. I mean, that's 3-4 games right there. Now their record instead of 18-8 is 22-4. Now you're starting to look, and it's not that far. That's what's frustrating about the team. It's not that far away. But I'm a Giants fan, New York Giants fan, football. Bill Parcells, what was his mantra? You are your record. And they're 18-8. And they are, I don't think they're on the bubble. They were sliding towards the bubble. They would have been, they'd still be in, but they're sliding towards a 9-10 seed, which is, the last couple out, the bubble. I think if they win here, they can really shoot up if they beat St. John's at MSG. That will be, I think, I like UConn in that game, to be honest with you. I just think so I just have to believe. I have faith in analytics. I have faith in ability. I believe that Alex Caravan is going to break out in a big way here, and he just needs one good game to get on one of those heaters. Um, it has to happen. It's going to happen. Just hopefully it's not too late.
Mhm.
Um, we have that. As far as a guy like Mahaney, um, you know, uh, it's funny. If we're talking in 2020, what is it, 2023, January of 23, we were talking about Tristan Newton, we may have had the same combo. Like, I remember he had like a
No,
0 point. It'd be
he
even
was
worse, a 0 points. Like, what is this? He can't play. He's not
no, no,
athletic
no.
enough to play at this level.
I don't think
Yeah.
it was ever. I don't think it was ever as
Well, he
their
couldn't play. No,
opinion
no,
was. Right, right, right.
no. I have questions whether he can play at this level. I think he struggled with the athleticism and the ball pressure. But I do remember, and with Newton, it was always, he wasn't a super athlete, and I think it took him a while to actually also get used to playing with the athleticism that's in the Big East, the more physical nature. And once Newton figured that out, he had such size. He was also 6'5".
Mhm.
I think Mahaney's issues is he needs to play a little more, but they can't play him if he's not being productive. So he has to play his way into feeling comfortable. I just don't think that's going to happen this year. Um, uh, and that is going to really hurt UConn going back because they could really use that shooting. He was advertised as a really good shooter, right, Aman? And but the reason I bring up Newton is it's funny how you know, we're okay. No big grand pronouncements on players because if I told you, Newton, I always thought when Newton was the player, and obviously I'm not comparing Mahaney to him ability wise or even what happened, but I think you don't give up on talent that quick. So should they recruit past him? Sure, but competition is good. Let him win
Right.
the job next year. Like Newton had to win the job when he came back that next year. So I think it's okay what they're doing with Mahaney. There's just no opportunity to get him in the game. There's not any time left. I mean, it's too
Mhm.
late.
Yeah.
They've tried to
Another
put
similar
Noel.
example.
No, good. Yep.
Hassan Diarra, just quickly, is a similar example. He did
Yes.
not do much his first year, came in with a pretty, solid billing, but then he got relegated to kind of non-existent zero duty his first year uh,
Hmm.
at UConn before. emerging into kind of that sixth man role that he was so great in last season. So,
Yeah,
Mahaney doesn't have
exactly.
3 years. He does not have the 3 year opportunity here, the way this year for Diarra. But maybe that's the arc, the type of arc it is for him, that he gets to a better place.
Mm,
Uh, that's not being, half Tristan Newton, half Cam Spencer, but maybe he's something like Hassan Diarra last year.
yeah, there you
That,
go. I like that
you
one.
know, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a great point, Amon. Like, Diarra, people were concerned about him. He came in, he didn't play much that first year. He did. His shooting was like 25% from the floor. He was a little too fast, turnover prone. So, there's hope for Mahaney. I just don't think it's going to happen this year. What I like to see them do more of is when they came back and went on that, like, what is it, 29-6 runner, whatever it was, uh, in the game, is they pressured the ball. Now, I'm not going to be, a blue-haired guy in my 90s saying we got to bring back the 2-2-1 zone press that UConn ran in 1990. No, that doesn't work in modern basketball. 3-point shots, we can get into that theory however we want. But what they did do though is even when they got to half court, is they pressured the ball. And I think with ball, I think you have to make solo ball play defense. You have to make these guys play defense. You can't allow us UConn defensively to be comfortable. Like if the opponent looks comfortable, then UConn's not playing defense because they're not good enough just to play straight up. They need to pressure the ball. I think they need to apply more ball pressure in. Obviously, I love it in the front court, but when you get to the when you get to the other side of the timeline, I think they need to do something to stop triple penetration. They need to attack the ball. It just that is what started it. That and Terrace Reed's one on Dixon was absolutely tremendous defense,
Yeah.
and he only fouled twice, which was good.
Right.
But he was I give him credit, man. That was a great performance by Terrace Reed.
Hmm. The other challenge we're seeing right now is just the shortening of the rotation. So
Yeah.
we're seeing with, again, like some of the folks we mentioned, Mahaney, Jalen Stewart. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Jalen Stewart,
Like 2 minutes. He was on.
yeah, he
Yeah.
played very much in. Oops, he played 1 minute in the first half.
Yeah.
So he got kind of the quick hook in the first half, and so when we're looking at the guys playing significant minutes, uh, basically the last few games it's been Caravan and McNeely playing almost every minute. Last night it was 38-35 for those two guys. Hassan Diarra played 34 minutes last night. That's concerning, considering his
Mm,
situation. That's not the minutes he's been playing lately.
yeah.
Solo Ball played 36. Terrace Reed played 27. So,
Mm,
we know that Samson Johnson, can play a little bit more, but after that, if guys can't give more and better minutes, Jalen Stewart, Jaden Ross,
mm,
and Mahaney, then this team's going to just continue to be inconsistent. You can't be a six-person team
no,
and
not anymore.
be at your best. You can win the miracles, right? Like at Marquette this year, they shot lights out the first 10 minutes and then they basically held on for glory.
Yeah.
You can do something like that against a great team to win. You're not gonna be dependable to beat good teams, and that'll make it really tough in March. Someone's gonna get you. I think we also saw a little bit more defensive pressure on McNeely last night, and we're going to see more of that, right? If Caravan's
Yeah.
no longer considered the primary scoring threat, it is Liam McNeely. It is, we do know that Liam McNeely is the
Yeah.
primary
He's a
scoring threat.
pro.
What a scorer, by the way, right? What
He's
a
a
scorer, what a
tremendous
baller, what a
player.
hooper. 20 points, 16 in the second half. Huge part of the reason UConn won, as well as Reed. And those guys were cooking a little bit together as well. Uh, it's going to be build the ship out of that. But we need a few more big games from Samson Johnson, and we
Mm,
need him and Terrace Reed combined to find some sort of better version of consistency. Villanova doesn't have big men, right? This was not this was the matchup to thrive down low for both guys, and one guy feasted. UConn in general feasted in the paint,
38
which was
points.
a good thing to
Hmm.
see. But
Hmm.
uh, you know, against St. John's, an elite defense, right? That's going to be with big men and with tall guards. It's going to be a different proposition. I'm not sure what that matchup. What about that matchup has improved for
Mm.
the Huskies? I mean, obviously, uh, um, McNeely was coming off the bench in that game. He still played quite a bit. I think he played
Mm.
most of the second half. Um, so you can expect a little bit more of him and a little bit less rusty version of him.
Mm.
But um, St. John's game is still going to be a tough one.
Yeah.
That's still the most likely loss left on the remaining schedule, and for a reason.
Yeah. Thinking about McNeely, and I was thinking this yesterday. I think, last year Castle was tremendous, but I think this is the best freshman UConn's had. I'm trying to
Totally.
I'm going back. Ray Allen was stellar, and I'm gonna be dating. I don't remember any of the guys before that, but even like a Emeka Okafor, Charlie Villanueva, Rudy Gay, they weren't what McNeely is. And UConn's had some tremendous, like Andre Drummond, which is probably
Yeah.
I don't even I try to forget that team every time I think about it. It was
Yeah.
Calhoun's last team, and it was probably his most disappointing coaching job. Probably drove him to early retirement. But it one of those, you know, I think we're not. I don't know how much we're appreciating how good McNeely is. I follow a lot of NBA types. They absolutely are in love with him. Now,
Yeah.
Cooper Flag is generational talent. I don't know if people want to hear that, but it's like one of those things where he's getting a lot of visibility from scouts, online scouts. People like him. He has an NBA. He has a pro game. He can do everything on the floor. He's really good. And I don't know how I didn't expect that. I thought, I figured he'd be like a 10 point a game guy and they're going to draft him on his potential, but he's playing like a lottery pick, not necessarily a potential lottery pick. Like, because of his potential. I think he's showing the goods more than early. He's really polished. Fantastic basketball player at that age.
Yeah, I think again tremendously talented, and what's also really enjoyable, he has that edge,
Yeah.
about him. He's got that competitive edge. He's got
Mm.
a little bit of that trash talking edge, but he really wants it as well. And to his credit, like I said earlier, he's also a good rebounder, passer. He's a complete basketball player. He's
Really.
not just a scorer. He's not just a 3-point shooter. He's really a complete player. He can score in a lot of different ways. He's very, just like nimble with the ball.
Mm.
I'm lacking in terms sometimes to describe it
Yeah.
beyond, he's just a hooper. He
Yeah.
he he
Yeah. That's what
knows
it
the
is.
game really well. He's highly proficient, but he's also really, really talented. So yeah, it's a joy to
Mm.
watch. He's going to be drafted early this June, continuing a good tradition for UConn, a good streak going of
Yeah.
adding to the NBA ranks.
Mm.
Um, so, but it remains to be seen how exciting or interesting this end to the season will be. Uh,
Yeah.
but hey, Sunday we're at Madison Square Garden. What more can you ask for? Big
Mm.
stakes
Yeah.
at the Garden in late February. It's going to be an intense end to the season, like I mentioned. Even this home Georgetown game next week,
It's good.
you got to win that. And UConn's had some ups and downs in its performances. The road game at Providence, you never can, you never write that as a win in ink, no matter what. And Providence is they're they're fine. They're not bad. They're not great. But they'll always give UConn a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
And then Marquette at home before season finale against Seton Hall. So you got to
Yeah.
get revenge there. But it's a tough stretch. These next four games are all tough opponents. 17, 86, 82, 26 in the Ken Palm
Yeah.
rankings. So um, it's put up or shut up time.
Yeah. No,
We'll
really.
I mean,
The beauty of it, Amon, is because it's tough. This is like, why you like to be in big conferences. This is why the SEC is going to get so many teams. Is you have opportunities in these
Yeah.
power leagues to reclaim what you may have lost earlier on in the season. Like, so this is an opportunity for them. So they can make that loss to Seton Hall, the loss at Xavier, the excruciating loss at Villanova. If they win these games, those games are irrelevant. Okay, so it's not like football where you got your one shot, and if you don't make it, you can't recover. So they're going to be able to recover here. They're going to be able to recover in the Big East tournament, and then where you are. And I don't think it's necessarily seeding. Everybody loves the seeding. The team needs to play well as well, and they haven't played well. They haven't put together a full game where I've been like, wow, that was terrific, crisp.
Yeah.
They either get out to a big lead and give it back, or they get behind and come back. I like that ability. I like the spurt ability and the toughness. I like to see more consistency. I think that's what we're missing. And when Hurley says is they couldn't imagine the fans with a roller coaster, and he's talking about wheels with caskets, I, you know, it really does. I don't know how people. It's exhilarating when they win. It's crushing when they lose. It's because you don't know what to expect game to game, and that makes it fun. But I can't be with a snowstorm bearing down like last Saturday, trying to figure out what just happened at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like with that scene all game. But then I don't know how they got down 14 to Villanova, and I don't know how they came back. So
Right.
basketball.
They were in
Basketball.
excruciating pain. I can tell the
Yeah,
coaches. I can tell.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
No, I no. There's no X and O. There's nothing he can do from that standpoint. And maybe you can try some combinations. Took care of it out pressure. I thought the pressure wasn't as effective. It did cause a turnover. I like pressuring the ball. I always err on the side of activity, is to play faster because I think they have more talent, and the more times the ball is in the UConn hands, the better the result's going to be. But I thought the pressure helped them on offense too. Like not like they didn't, they're not going to turn people over and make easy offense, but it got them. It like jolted them, don't you think? Like that little energy burst got them running
yeah.
around. And the crowd gets into it. Like nobody wants to go to walk the ball up, sit back in your man defense, but playing off them because they can't shoot. Pressure the ball, run up and down the floor, move the ball, play exciting basketball, gets the crowd involved, and they're young players. They let that crowd momentum
Mm.
surge to them. So I liked it. I thought it was a good move by Hurley. He doesn't like the press because I'm
Mm.
sure he was worried about fouls and giving up easy shots. On the other end, like people always forget about that, but they could get shredded in that.
Oh, and they
But
haven't had to,
good for him.
right? They
And they haven't had it
they
either.
won two championships without, really breaking a sweat and mostly taking a double-digit lead into the final minutes every single time. So they
But that's
never had to
good.
kind of be in tight late game
Yeah.
situations. But yeah, look, it's college basketball. There's still upside for this team. They still are capable of being something different once the calendar flips to March. That's why we watch the games, which is, I think, how we ended the last podcast. But that's a good motto, right? That
Uh,
in this world of analytics and everyone pretending that they
yeah.
know everything, right, John? And and,
Yeah.
and everyone wanting to believe
No
that
idea.
they can make conclusions rapidly about players. This is college basketball. Things change, teams will evolve. This time in 2023, nobody said UConn was going to go win the NCAA tournament and win every game by double digits, and they
Nope.
did. So there still is something for this team to figure out. That's on the coaches, right? We're not coaches, we're not
Mm.
basketball, experts. Last year or 2 years ago, for example, right? They figured out Andre Jackson, right? They figured
Yeah.
out how to maximize him offensively, get his 2 point percentage up, and that made a huge, huge difference for UConn. I
For sure.
think there are a couple of tweaks like that. Maybe not that make UConn the national champion run through juggernaut, but moving up into that the quality team that we thought they were, maybe that four-loss kind of team that you might have hoped that they could be. So it's still there. I'm not sure how much we're seeing of it, but the potential is still there, and the coaching staff has the track record of having done this, and there's enough talent on the roster. So um, the
I
ingredients
have.
are there.
How about this first scenario? 8-9 game, UConn, Kansas with Duke waiting. How awesome would
Hate
that
it.
be?
No, not awesome. What are you, Dick Vitale? I don't care
Oh,
for
come
that
on,
one.
let's watch the game. But the ratings would be
Oh,
through the roof. It would be through the roof.
John, no,
McNeely,
we don't root for ratings. Come on, come
I
on.
root for basketball. Well, I don't want him to get bounced out by
Tits
Teddy,
to Ted.
You get Teddy Allen with his 10th year eligibility. Is going to come out there with and be UConn. I know, scored
That's what I'm
35
worried
points.
about. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. That's what you worry about. They struggle shooting because they went 4 of 19 from three yesterday. Now the good
Yeah.
news is they got 38 points in the paint. Villanova doesn't have a strong defensively interior, and I like the fact that UConn attacked the basket and went to Reed in the post, dominated inside, but they were 4 of 19 from three. Carabin's not shooting well now. Solo ball's kind of cooled down. I won't say a slump. I don't think you can. I mean, he was on a heater. Yeah, I do worry about the shooting. Where are they going to get? They need to be able to shoot that three against the good teams. They're going to have to be better than 25% from 3-point range. It's just too. It's too much in modern basketball. The three means too much.
Hmm. Well, on that note, we will wrap up the podcast. Thank you all for listening and watching. We're going to be getting this distributed wide and far very soon, and excited to be running twice a week through the
Okay.
end of the basketball season for the remainder of this season, at the very least. Thank you, and thanks, John.
All right. Thanks, guys.